Here we are in the middle of carving the pumpkin. So you saw that we had purchased this 85-pound wonder, and I get patterns from, it's called thepumpkinlady.com. They are free patterns, but of course they can't be sold for profit. And they have hundreds of patterns on there, scary, funny, etc. And sometimes it's just a silhouette or a carving of a person or a scene. But I'm kind of traditional and wanted to do a face, a jack-o'-lantern. So Bunky and I looked at dozens of patterns and settled on this one. So I began with cutting the pumpkin open from the bottom. The reason for that is, and especially something this size, is because you can take the bottom out and place it on top of a lamp rather than put the lamp in through the top. And then you have the wire to deal with and so forth. When you do that, it's always good not only to carve some kind of a circle, but have a notch so that you can easily pull it out. I printed up the pattern, and since this is far larger than anything I'm used to, I made it into 4 pages and taped it on the pumpkin. And then I took a pin and made dots through it, which I then cut through to make lines on the pumpkin itself. So now I know what my pattern is. The nice thing about the pattern is it also says do the eyes first, then the mouth, and then this grave part, and I'm following that along. So Bunky gave me a 12-piece carving chisel set. Is that specifically for pumpkins, or could it be for...
They suggested this. It's a wood carving set, but said that it would work great for pumpkin carving.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of angles and divots and so forth that you can use to pry out the pumpkin skin. Well, usually when we carve pumpkins in America, often we just carve all the way through. I'm trying to preserve a thin membrane so that the light will have depth to the image on the pumpkin. Now, sometimes I poke through because you certainly need enough taken out so that the light will be transparent. And so what I'm doing now is I've already taken out the goofy eyes, working on the mouth, and I'm starting in the middle and I'm just carving out the center so that I can get in. And you can see that it's certainly at least an inch, which I guess would be 2.5 centimeters for those who are on the metric system. But it's very thick. I mean, this is certainly the largest and thickest pumpkin I've ever worked with. So I have carved out most of the mouth, and now I'm going to try to do the finer parts by carving out the part around the teeth. And that's going to take a lot of fine detail. And you go from a thicker, wider kind of chisel to something that is much narrower and allows you to do finer work. And you just keep chiseling it out.
Can you show them how you chisel a little piece?
Sure. And so I am still kind of taking out the pumpkin fruit of the skin on the bottom. I haven't really cleaned it all out. And I use the chisel, the sharp side up, and I am prying it out. And I have the trash can right here, which I discard. And just keep prying and chiseling it out. And then when I get to the side, I want to be a little bit inside of it. I don't want it to be straight from the edge, but a little bit in so that it gives it some depth. And then once I get to the teethy parts, that's when I take out the finer chisels, the shorter ones, and I will be removing the fruit of the pumpkin, of the skin, take it out, trying really hard not to ruin the edges of the teeth. And when I get that out, then I'm just going to continue to pry the skin part so that there will be the empty space where the teeth ought to be.
How many days do you think this is going to take you?
Well, this is my second day working on it, and the first day was to take out the guts of the pumpkin, and that was a good 45 minutes because imagine how many guts are in this. This is an 85-pound pumpkin, so I have no idea how that translates into kilograms, but it is substantial. It's barely something I can lift on my own. And so taking out the guts, taking out the bottom part, and carving out the eyes while Bunky was working on staining the deck, that took me, I think, a solid 3 hours. Because this is very fine work, especially when you get to the very thin membrane. You don't want to ruin that. And you can see that we're going to get into a lot of details around the mouth with the teeth.
Do you think this will be finished today?
It's, what, about 11 o'clock this morning. I'm under the tarp because they're calling for rain starting at 1. So I've done most of my chores today, so I'm going to work on it as long as my back holds out without support on this picnic table. I also found my hands tend to cramp a little bit. So, frankly, I have a feeling this, which is a substantial amount, is going to take a few hours. So, my goal today is to get the mouth completely done, and let's see what work I can do on this. But to be frank, I'm not sure that my hands are going to last or my back is going to last to carve the whole thing today. I'd like to, because I can't wait to see what it's going to look like, but we'll see how the day unfolds.
All right, I'll bring you back later and find out how far you've come and if you're finished or not.
Okay, we'll look out for it.
Go.
Well, we've come to the end of the carving, and we're really very pleased with how it turned out. It was certainly the biggest challenge I've had in a while, 85 pounds. It's a challenge just lifting it. But when Craig asked me whether I was going to finish it, I just got some steam in me, and we finished it yesterday. And right now, you see how it looks. So I think the next time, some tips that I would suggest is you can see that the rind, the inner skin, dries out. So maybe when you carve your pumpkin, it may be a good idea to, I've seen the suggestion of using Vaseline to keep it supple, or to use hairspray, something so that the skin won't dry out, because as it dries out, it will shrink and tear, and we don't want that. Another suggestion I would do the next time I do this is I would not carve nearly as deeply. And I think I made the membrane a little too thin, and from time to time may have poked a hole through the skin, and that will just eventually get to be bigger and bigger holes as the skin dries out. So Craig had a great idea to carve it with the light inside, and that gives me a great visual on how thin I want to carve the skin, and next time I won't have to carve it nearly as thin. But overall, I think it's a great success. I think it's a lot of fun, and I enjoyed carving it. So thanks for your interest in this journey that I had, and I look forward to some more pumpkin carvings and perhaps maybe a few more spooky days. So happy Halloween to everybody, and thank you for your interest. If you enjoy this, feel free to hit the like button, the thumbs up, or subscribe, ring the bell for further videos from Bunky's Workshop, and happy Halloween to all.